ナム妙法蓮華経。ナム妙法蓮華経。ナム妙法蓮華経。Hello, friends. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I hope you're healthy, wealthy as well, healthy and safe, secure. We're going to continue. I'm fascinated by this document, the Onko Kikigaki. As a reminder, this is a document, one of two of its kind that I know of. This one of the Minobu school, the headquarters of Nichiren, in the latter years of his life, where he selected 6 senior disciples to carry on his doctrine and teaching throughout Japan and the larger world. And this document is authored by, albeit in academia, Nichiren wrote a voluminous amount of letters and discourses and treatises, and over the years they've been collected from those who he wrote letters to, who've kept them in their families for generations. And this is a scholarly academic collection. So there's a collection of documents authored by Nichiren, some of which have been identified as authentic because of they have found the holographs, which I understand to mean original documents. Others seem to have been copies made of documents, and still others are suspected as maybe being authored by later monks who were studying and keeping the records. Part of our practice of Buddhism is to recite, copy, write, share, right? So just as previous centuries, monks would have endeavored to make copies of all the facets of the Lotus Sutra for distribution, right? There were no printing presses, so this had to be done by hand. One of the honorable tasks of being a cloistered monk was to author these for distribution to other teaching monks, other masters, head of temples, that kind of thing. You got your copy that you could annotate and work from. Certainly the letters of Nichiren would have been treated in much the same way. The personal letters, not so much, because those would have been kept in private collections by families over hundreds of years. But certainly the doctrinal pieces and the many, many letters he wrote to his disciples, his teaching monks, his leading lay monks, lay believers, whatever you want to call them, Tendai priests who were changing their affiliations to Nichiren. So there's a lot of documents out there, and academia is sifting through them, has been sifting through them, and some of them seem maybe are apocryphal because they don't really sound like Nichiren's voice. And we've read so many Goshos already of the Zosho Zenshu variety that there's a pretty clear voice, no matter whether it's a personal letter or a doctrinal letter or a remonstration. You can identify Nichiren's rhythms and word usages and sentence structures albeit through translations, right? But these translations are being done from the Japanese documents. So even though the English translations may have weird little biases in them, we can still see a consistency. So much so that I identified a couple of Goshos that I had read through our Nichiren Gosho videos that I suspected didn't. Yeah, I mean, you could hear it. That Nichiren wouldn't say, if he talked about this, he would say it a different way, right? Well, this document, which is from the Minobu school, from Niko with 1K, sure sounds like Nichiren. The one wonderful thing about this document, though, is because it's a transcription of Nichiren's lectures to his inner circle. It's much more direct. It's much more condensed summarizations of his thinking about certain aspects, and certainly as he's going through the Lotus Sutra, what his interpretation and his readings of Chi's and Miao Lo and Deng Yo's interpretations and other masters, and how he sees through that scholarship the proper identification of the meaning of these sentences. And we've been told since Shakyamuni that rather than being all hung up on the words, we should endeavor to understand the meaning, right? The finger pointing at the moon analogy and all that. And this, so far, really rings true and really brings a lot of concepts together very quickly, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I'm curious, after we're done with this, I'm going to try to read the Fuji School document, supposedly written by Niko with 2 Ks, Byakaren Ajari Niko. And he has a similar document that he created. And every time I've started reading that document, I'm hit in the face with a stunning discrepancy, not just of Nichiren, but of Shakyamuni, of Buddhism in general. This deification of Nichiren seems to be the one motivating factor, egotistical or not, you be the judge, of this one of the 6 eminent scholars that Nichiren appointed, who split away from Minobu and started his own version of Nichiren's doctrine as the Fuji School. But it's glaring. And I'm just curious, though, as we read through it, we may find that there are a lot of things that resonate. But I certainly will be attuned to this document's interpretation of Nichiren doctrine, albeit no proof has been made that it is actually Byakaren Ajari Niko's writing. It may just be a much later, a couple of centuries later, monk who is interpreting notes made by perhaps Niko. Perhaps he saw the document from Minobu and he thought, well, I need to provide our own version of that. And it may be completely constructed. I'm curious, after reading this, what this Ongi Kuden, which has been under controversy for hundreds of years, will sound like. I mean, we might as well read it and see what it says. And I think if there are outright falsehoods or manipulations in it, I feel pretty good about our study for so many years, and certainly my endeavor of study since the 80s. I think we'll be able to pick up on it. But it'll be curious. So I'm really fond of this document so far. There's quite a bit more to read, but let's get through it and see. Maybe something will surprise me in here and I'll go, oh, where did that come from? But so far, it resonates true, doesn't it? So let's continue. Enough blah, 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 as I would say. So the last thing we read was on the Lotus Sutra is what is meant by meditation is chanting the Daimoku, which is termed wisdom, as he was taking apart an earlier statement. I don't want to reread that. If you want to know what leads up to that, then see the previous video. Again, that the Dharma realm, in all its aspects, passes through birth, stability, change, and destruction, corresponds to the confidence, the stalwart, resolute mind. The inherent position of each Dharma corresponds to precepts. This inherent position, never changing throughout the 3 time periods, corresponds to meditation. Each manifestation, its own virtue and significance, corresponds to wisdom. This is precisely the roots, stalks, branches, and leaves possessed equally by the Dharma realm. So he ties up all of these words with one another in what you've already heard me discuss, is that as we chant the Daimoku, we are invoking a nature which predates us, predates all life. That wisdom, the consciousness of that situation, of the realm, samsara, that we're in, is our unique invocation of understanding. See, we have a human existence that exists among all the things, us included. That's how we self-identify. And yet, we understand with our mind well beyond what seems to be this physical reality around us. We understand causation, source, evolution, demise, the way every single thing, including atoms and electrons and you and I, arise. We have a bit of an endurance, a stage, if you will, which is constantly in decay and decays to the point where it dissolves and becomes what it came from, just particles, energy, basically. Particles are just a scientific description of certain quantum states of energy, kinetic energy, momentum, mass, right? These are all states of energy. And so we arise from that, like everything in the universe does, and we return to it. We just have this little peak of consciousness where we can be aware of this whole process. Or we can be unaware of the process, but aware of being in it, and which is our human, our samsaric reality, right? The reality says, this is it. I can hold it, I can possess it, I can have it, I am. Whereas with our minds, our Buddha mind, we can transcend that understanding. And yes, it's still there. We're still human, coursing in the physical world, but we understand ourselves and the physical world as simply the same process, egalitarian, of every phenomena in the universe. I mean, we can wax poetic about it and say some people are black holes, some people are suns, some people are planets, like that. I'm kind of uncomfortable with that kind of dialogue because I think it can confuse more than explain. But there is a logical equation there that all phenomena are made of the same stuff, all arising with its own set of tendencies and conditions, limitations, exceptions. In that kind of understanding, this is where Nichiren would call out that to be born human with this potential to understand, to see into the nature of things, is a very unique and very rare position to be in when you consider the whole of the universe. We're a very small, it weighs on us, doesn't it? This is why we're always talking about, is there anywhere else in the universe where there are similar type beings, thinking, mental beings, right? Because it seems so incredibly fortuitous that it's just us on this little planet, right? But grappling with that reality is in itself scratching at the door of Buddha-ness, right? So, this is what he's talking about, all the realms, 3,000 realms in a single thought moment, on and on and on. All this talk about realms are mental perceptive capacities. This is precisely the behavior of the true aspect of suchness. And we haven't talked about suchness in a while, but we had a couple of videos just about suchness, didn't we? The 10 suchnesses, which themselves describe suchness of life itself, which would be the suchness of the 3 bodies of Buddha, of enlightenment, which we've identified, right, as perceptive, rewarding in its perception, and physical, the 3 bodies, manifest. The 3 studies of precepts, meditation, and wisdom are Myoho Renge Kyo. To have confidence in this is the root. Right? If you just look at this teaching and you hear all of these words and you read all of this stuff and it's just entertainment and you don't take it to heart, if it doesn't resonate with you in any way or you don't make the effort to really understand it, then there's no value in you practicing Buddhism. It's just another game, another bauble of samsara. People do. But if you're willing to look at it seriously and understand deeply in your mind what is being discussed, what insights are available to you, it can become very exciting. Sometimes even worrying. But we get through that because that's just a natural state of samsara by chanting, right? Refocus the mind. The commentary states, quote, that which transmits the 3 studies simultaneously is the wonderful Dharma, which we've talked about the word Dharma before. It doesn't simply mean teaching. It means the aspect, the perception of that which is being taught. Roots, stalks, branches, and leaves. Once again, same sentence. Our teacher said, so this is, again, in the voice of Niko, but he's talking about what Nichiren's lecture is. This refers to our person. Roots are the mental dharmas, the realms our mind can investigate and be in. Stalk refers to our body from head to foot. Branches are our arms and legs. Leaves are the hairs of our body. These 4 aspects of ourselves are expounded in the sutra as roots, stalks, branches, and leaves of all the 3,000 aspects of the Dharma realm. 3,000 worlds, right? 3,000 realms. There is none that does not possess these 4. They are precisely the essence of confidence and resolve, precepts, meditation, and wisdom, and the essence of Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, the single principle that is the true aspect. Those who do not believe in the Lotus Sutra possess roots, stalks, branches, and leaves, but they do not grow. They are parched beings, right? Just another way of saying what I was describing a few moments ago. The Dharma rain that is sent down equally. That's another quote from the Lotus Sutra. Our teacher said, equally means evenly and pervasively. The Tathagata, not begrudging the rain of the wonderful Dharma, sends it down equally on good persons and evil persons, those of the 2 vehicles, ichantikas, those of correct views and those of wrong views. When we read this passage as sends down the Dharma rain, it means that the great enlightened world-honored one sends it down, offers it to all. But when we read it as, quote, the Dharma rain falls, end quote, Since this is from the outset the equal Dharma reign of the true aspect, it is reign that constantly abides and is originally inherent. Therefore, it does not just now start to fall. It's always been falling. It's just a matter of perceiving it. The true aspect of the Dharmas is likened in Chi'i's commentary on the parable chapter to the moon and wind. The great teacher Miao Lo says, quote, "What is hidden and what is revealed," end quote. The Dharma reign of the true aspect transcends the three time periods. There is no being hidden or revealed. As for the word tu, equal, or to, sorry, it's Japanese, equal or equally, when we read it as equally, it refers to the impartial compassion of the Tathagata Shakyamuni. When we read it as equal, it refers to the impartial great wisdom that is Myoho Renge Kyo. Equally sends down the Dharma reign, indicates the one who propagates, while, quote, the equal Dharma reign refers to the Dharma that is to be propagated. Dharma means the dharmas of the 10 realms, the 10 worlds, right? And reign is the conduct represented by the words and speech, sounds and voices of the beings of the 10 realms. As for falls, all the spontaneously expressed sounds and voices of everything from hell's fiercely burning flames up to the conduct of the Buddha realm are expounded as the Dharma reign falls equally. The Dharma essence of the equally falling Dharma reign is Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. All right, so a lot of word circles, right? What does it mean? Simply put, we're still discussing original cause and effect, original Enlightenment doctrine. That once we realize that we are the product of the same stuff that everything is the product, and that the product, whether it's you, me, a rock, or a blade of grass, or our pet dog, all manifested from energy, momentum, kinetics, formation, forms, in all of its variations, are of the same stock. And realizing that while we're in these forms liberates us from the idea that these forms contain us. These forms are just little representation of life. And that, knowing that insight is Myoho Renge Kyo. Does that make sense? Namu is basically saying, I will resonate with this ultimate truth that everything is and that I am in concert with Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo is the very nature of all phenomena, of which you and I are. This is why when we chant it, we invoke this truth, this insight. It's very simple, little tight circle, but it encapsulates a lot of wisdom. There's knowing and there's wisdom. I know everything is made of energy and gravity or quantum fluctuations precipitating mass and matter and all of that. I know that. But the wisdom is to know that we're right now in each moment experiencing that entire process, drama. It's only dramatic because we see it through samsaric eyes. But when we see it through our Buddha mind, it's incredibly liberating. Right? Shall I go on? Where are we time-wise? Oh, yeah. We've hardly scratched the surface. Now in the final Dharma age, book's heavy, I hope you don't mind that the Daimoku propagated by Nichiren and his followers is the Dharma essence of, quote, the equally falling Dharma rain. This Dharma rain falls simultaneously on hell dwellers, hungry ghosts, beasts, and all others, identifying all the different realms, right? In other words, this truth isn't modified in any way for anyone, any mood, any emotion, any reality, any instantiation, any manifestation. It's equanimous because it is fundamental. Our tremendous, precious life opportunity is that we are conscious of it. We can be conscious of it. Or we can choose to not be conscious of it and just course in the way of human beings with pain, stress, anxiety, suffering. We're all going to have this arc of life from physical birth to physical death. All of us can't escape that, but we can escape being drug around by it, carrying it around like a great burden. We can relieve that burden simply by changing our mind, our perception. And when we change that mind, it's not just that we go, oh, well, it's not so bad. No, that's not changing your mind. You're still stuck on bad, not bad. Changing your mind is understanding right through those emotional barriers, those feelings of stress, and seeing solutions, seeing equanimity, seeing the way everything works just flawlessly. Nothing can't be overcome. You see solutions and plays, and there's no drama. There's simply the rhythm of life to be unaffected by. The Dharma rain transferred to the bodhisattvas who emerged from the earth, right? Remember that part of the Lotus Sutra. For the sake of all living beings in Japan is the 5 characters of the Daimoku. It is the object of worship and Namo Myoho Renge Kyo that Nichiren has established. In other words, this has always been there. What Nichiren's advent provides for us in this defiled age of tremendous distractions, a short attention span, the need for immediate instantiation of Buddhahood, Nichiren has given us a tool. He's harnessed that idea of the treasure tower, of the Daimoku Myoho Renge Kyo, and he's understood that our maximal method for invoking our Buddha-ness is to dedicate ourselves to that reality of Myoho Renge Kyo, the core, the fundamental teaching of Shakyamuni, by offering Namu ahead of it to commit to Myoho Renge Kyo. And he's written it down in characters that are a synthesis of Sanskrit, Chinese, and Japanese, and personalized in a drawing. Here it is. This is the treasure tower. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. And here's all the supporting personages, ideas, expedient devices that support this teaching of the Dharma, of the treasure tower. And now you can see it in front of you so that with your samsaric mind of identification, of thingifying, you can thingify this drawing to reflect into your own mind that essential nature that we all have, and Open it up, awaken it, and experience Myoho Renge Kyo for yourself immediately. And how do you do that? Gosh, it's really complicated. Say it with resolve. Not Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. But look at the mandala. Understand that it's a reflector to open up your own mind. And throw your life energy into your daimoku, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. And your mind will respond immediately. The world will start to, you'll deafen the world. You'll stop hearing it. Everything will, your samsaric consciousness will collapse. Remember the video I did with the drawing of the triangle and the 8 consciousnesses, the 9th being Myoho Renge Kyo? And when you invoke it with strength, conviction, and power, it wraps around all the others and they become purified. The distractions go away immediately. And then all you can see is this mandala, because the mandala is being reflected in your own consciousness, in your own mind. That is your Buddha-ness. In the Skillful Means chapter, this is expressed as, quote, the ultimately equal from beginning to end. Remember the suchnesses? So, in a way, you could say that when we fuse with our mandala and chant, we end the passage of time. Not so much physically, but mentally. We're no longer in time-space. We are in that beginningless time that is our fundamental reality, our Buddha-ness. And it exists in everything. Isn't that amazing? And in the parable chapter, as, quote, he gives to each child equally a great cart, end quote. This word, equal, is repeated throughout the sutra. It also says, desiring to make all beings equal to me, right? The end of the 16th chapter. All that I focus on, think about every day is how can I lead all others to Buddhahood? Right? Without difference. This word equal has the same meaning as so it is, so it is. In the jeweled stupa chapter, the treasure tower, the Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. In the final analysis, equal means Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. To send down the Dharma rain indicates the words of acceptance in response to the question, from the time of your present body until you obtain the body of a Buddha, will you uphold the Lotus Sutra or not? This just sounds like Nichiren. I've never heard him say those words exactly, but I would think if I was teaching my closest disciples the fundamentals of what upholds this doctrine of the Lotus Sutra, that Nichiren is clarifying the meaning of the Lotus Sutra so that these disciples get it and use that as a foundation to support their teachings throughout Japan. It's like he's just honed everything down. Instead of having these big, long stories trying to prove every word he's saying, look, take it as read. You know everything I've said. Now, understand how this comes together. It's a lot in a short amount of time. But certainly that's how he would be talking to these very important 6 inner circle disciples. Wouldn't you agree? This very much sounds like Nichiren, and it very much sounds like, after much study of Nichiren, this resonates exactly with what he's been saying all along, albeit in chunks. Yeah? The Dharma rain that falls equally. Once again, he's going to approach this just one sentence out of the Lotus Sutra. Our teacher said, this time the Dharma rain, the true aspect that is the wonderful Dharma, falls with the merit of the wonderful Dharma, the 3,000 aspects of the 10 realms, from hell at the bottom to the heaven where there is neither thought nor no thought. That's an interesting way to put it, isn't it? How many times have I said when you chant to your mandala, the object isn't to figure out what to think. The object is to single-mindedly attain Buddha. Is that a thought? Is that a non-thought? It's an invocation. It's not really, how do I do this? Where is it? How can I find it? Those are thoughts. And that's samsara. That's attachment. That's distraction. You follow? So in one sentence, he nails that right off the bat. At the top, horizontally through the 10 directions and vertically through the 3 time periods, this is called equally. Falls means that the body and mind of all living beings falls as Myoho Renge Kyo, constantly abiding through the 3 time periods, past, present, future. Again, Buddhism fondles this idea of time constantly, saying in essence, past, present, future is an illusion, that there is only now. What you think is the past is a thought you're having now. It no longer exists, this thing you're calling past. Nor can you project into the future some thought you are now having now. All you can do is be in the flow. Make sense? In another sense, okay, the reign of the wonderful Dharma is the Dharma essence of the fundamental Dharma that is the 9th consciousness. There's again, talking about the Amala consciousness. I haven't heard dialogue from Nichiren so much as I have in this document about this 9th consciousness. Because a Buddha appeared and spoke forth this wonderful Dharma, one says, quote, sends down the Dharma rain. Sending down implies falling from high to low. Thus, it indicates proceeding from effect to cause. That makes sense too. Because as we live in this samsaric space, time, we are observing, attaching ourselves to nouns, right? Thingness. Samsara is an effect that has been affected from the cause, the process. To be attached to the effect is to not understand causation, flow, movement, momentum. So the teaching of Myoho Renge Kyo allows us to transcend the effect world and to perceive and follow in the cause. When this passage is interpreted in terms of the Buddha, the Dharma rain is sent down from the 10th realm, that of Buddhahood, or effect to the 9 realms. So the effect in this case is the daimoku, the world, the realm of Buddhahood. This is our goal. This is what we're reaching, attaining. And we're attaining it through the cause of invoking it, Myoho Renge Kyo. So in this case, the 9th world, the 10th realm, is the world of Buddhahood, the 9th consciousnesses, numbers. When it is interpreted in terms of the essence of the Dharma, those on whom the rain falls and he who sends it down are both the single principle of true suchness. In other words, all of this placement of first, last, top, down, all of that, it's the true suchness, the true aspect of all phenomena. And that might sound very familiar to the title of a Gosho we read many moons ago. In terms of the divisions of consciousnesses, it falls from the 9th to the other 8 consciousnesses. This being the case, Nichiren and his followers, sending down Namu Myoho Renge Kyo upon the heads of all beings in Japan, Jampudvipa, is called sending down the Dharma rain. And then he starts on another sentence, so that's a good place to take a break. So this is an interesting document, I'll say again, because what we're hearing is Nichiren breaking down the essentials of Buddhist practice from the very words and characters of the Lotus Sutra, with the understanding of years of study and scholarship, these expedient means. It's like taking apart, think if you were for a moment to take apart the fable on the boy who cried wolf. If you haven't heard that, I mean, where have you been? It's a very it's a very well-known fable, Western world, Western population fable, right? About the boy who cried wolf. You might want to read that one. Just look for it on Google. If you were to take apart every word of that little fable while teaching it to your child, how would you do it? Your child today, see, this fable is old, your child today could probably understand it with very few words. Like, your actions have consequences. That's a very short sentence. But because we're more sophisticated than we used to be hundreds of years ago, when you read the story, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, what you're doing is you're illustrating with visual language and emotion and many angles of view this idea of somebody who may be making causes they don't even understand are destroying their dignity and their believability, their stature, their call into question their own truth, validity, honesty, right? Even if at first that wasn't their motivation. So it's a very profound lesson to help our children get more critical thinking. But try explaining that to your 10-year-old, and he'll go, yeah, actions have consequences. Because we know that that formula at a much younger age than we used to in prior civilizations. So that story, the reason I bring it up, is an expedient means of teaching sophisticated concepts to children who would not otherwise consider that interplay of attitudes and understanding and information exchange, right? It's not like a blackboard. You can't just erase something that you've imposed or enlisted others to commit to. There's a stain of sorts there. There's an indelible mark made. And removing it is always much harder than making it. But all of those sophisticated arguments and thoughts are quite foreign to a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, right? So we have these fables to teach them. And we still use them today. Evolution. It's kind of slow, isn't it? But in many ways, children learn at a much younger age this dynamic. So what Nichiren is doing here is he's taking these expedient means, these teaching devices of the sutras, and now he's talking to his advanced students, and he's saying, do you understand what all of these sentences are constantly pointing to? Repeatedly, boom, boom, boom. Understand, so when you read it for yourself, you will not misunderstand the lesson, the meaning. So far, I'm pretty happy to have found this document. And I hope you're enjoying our discussion of it. Please introduce your own thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Did you know about this document? Had you ever heard about it before? If not, why not? If you have any theories on that. And yes, I think to be fair, I have to also read the Onko Kikigaki. And then we'll see what we think of that one. I certainly will. And, I read it before, but it was a long time ago. I even put out a little booklet about it. But it wasn't, it was a captured document that I had found. And so I published it just to make it, because it's hard to find it. I wanted to make it available to study it. Now I would like to do the same thing with this Onko Kikigaki, because I see a lot of value in this. Let me know in the comments if you think that's a good idea, so I can make this available, right? As a document we can all study. I just like the format of it. It just condenses so many ideas. Anyway, with all of that, I've gone on and on. Thank you so much. It looks like I may have solved my encoding problem here. So hopefully this video will run smoothly. And until the next one, please take care of your health. Be kind to yourself and others. It's easy. I promise. Keep your practice strong. And thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Do all the YouTube stuff, subscribe, like, and all of that. And don't forget the podcasts or the website, threefoldlotus.com. Lots of free information there. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.